In many ways, all of us want to help our schools make progress. If you're listening to this, you're probably somewhat of a change agent or a progress driver, someone who wants to deliver to kids the kinds of learning experiences that will really prepare them for life as adults in a world we can't really even begin to imagine. So I want to talk to you about a particularly important step that you might consider taking if you want to bring real progress and transformation to your school. And that step, we're calling it forming your own committee of 10. Now, there is a committee of 10 in education history, which goes back to 1893, and your committee of 10 shouldn't look anything like that one. But let's take a minute to just understand why that's an important step and how you might go about doing it. Now, I travel a lot, visit lots of schools, meet lots of I'll call them progress drivers, people that just are willing to go to great lengths to try to help their school make progress. And they recognize that the world's changing fast, that the challenges for kids to plug into fulfilling careers are getting higher by the day, that it's more and more difficult to be an informed, responsible citizen. That target is not a fixed target. It is changing and elevating over time. And so our schools, if we stand still, we're not going to be keeping pace. And we're not ever going to get to a point where we say, done. This is the perfect school and this accomplishes what we need to accomplish. It's really a journey, right? I mean, none of us are perfect as humans. No institution's perfect. Our game plan, our actions, our learning experiences will never be perfect. The question is, can we point them in the right direction and affect an energized community to embrace the kinds of progress we know we need to make? And what I see as I visit, talk to people, and try to understand what they've done to try to move the needle when it comes to their school, here's what I've seen. Those who try to do it by themselves, they just wear out. Even if you're the principal, even if you're the head of the school, it's just daunting to try to change a school all by yourself. And that's why we really encourage you to form your own committee of 10. And this isn't 10 literally. It could be a half a dozen. It could be 15. Too small, you won't get what you need to get. Too big, it's unmanageable. But reach out and find some like-minded people willing to take on an ambitious effort. But that effort has got to be described with the right language choices. I think if you say, oh my gosh, our school is terrible, we have so many problems we got to fix. You want to be part of the team to try to fix those problems? Who gets excited about that? That's not the way we need to look at this. We need to understand we've got this ambitious goal of preparing our kids for life as adults in a world we can't predict. We know we're doing some really good things here, but what can we do to bring our community together to work toward an inspiring and aspirational goal of affecting positive progress in our school and in our learning experiences? That language works. It's people rally to an ambitious effort to make something that much better. Second, I think, is be very thoughtful and intentional about who your core group is. And the thing you don't want to do, as I said, if you try to do it alone, you'll get nowhere. You will just wear out. It will not be productive. And one of the reasons it won't be productive is that everyone else will view it as your goal. And who gets excited about accomplishing somebody else's goal? It's one of the things that undoes our education system time and again. People want to have a voice in a goal that they believe in. And when we give them that, when we say this is not my goal, but this is our goal, you had a voice in it, people will go to the ends of the earth to pull off what we would think is impossible. And trust me, I see schools change in a matter of months. I have seen districts change top to bottom in 2 years. This is something we can do. As you form your committee of 10, we offer some great starter conversation videos, some real momentum builders. And an example, my dear friend Sir Ken Robinson's epic TED Talk, Do Schools Kill Creativity?
If you think of it, children starting school this year will be retiring in 2065. Nobody has a clue, despite all the expertise that's been on parade for the past 4 days, what the world will look like in 5 years' time. And yet we're meant to be educating them for it.
I promise, many people you think have seen it haven't. If you ask them to watch it, they're not going to get back to you and say, how could you have wasted my time? It's so engaging, it's so entertaining, but it also calls into question one of the most important aspects of what we prioritize in school. How important is it for our kids to be creative problem solvers?
Picasso once said this. He said that all children are born artists. The problem is to remain an artist as we grow up. I believe this passionately, that we don't grow into creativity, we grow out of it. Or rather, we get educated out of it.
And so you can ask people to watch that video. That opens them up to thinking about, oh, this is something important. Maybe it's slipped between the cracks or been totally ignored, or maybe even it's being impaired by what we do today. Let's start thinking about, if we made that a priority, how would we go about it? So we've got a half a dozen great starter conversation videos that you can share to build that coalition. The second thing is, be intentionally proactive in building a diverse group that represents all constituencies. You don't do it alone, but reach out. Find a teacher who's itching to do more innovative things or has been doing them, but also find a teacher that's just a dyed-in-the-wool traditionalist, because trust me, they have a lot to offer to this process. Find a parent or two, maybe one that is a complainer, but also one that thinks school should just be exactly how it's always been. And there are a lot of those parents. Maybe get somebody from outside the school, maybe a school board member, that would be great, or a respected citizen in your community. But also, this is vital, get students involved. What happens a lot, right, is we'll ask for a student volunteer, and that same student that loves school, that's a student council leader, they are the first student to put up their hand and say, I'll do it, I'll do it, I'll do it. And that's great, because they'll have something to add. But find a student that school is just not working for. A student that just isn't engaged, that we're not bringing out the best in that kid, because those are the kids we need to be thinking about as we reimagine what the school process could be. So if you get that group, we lay out in this playlist a whole set of great follow-on steps, that you can bring your entire community together. And it will be so much better if you say, hey, we've got this little informal working group trying to figure out ways that we can bring real progress to our school to better prepare our kids for life. You might want to screen the film Most Likely to Succeed, a film I'm biased about, but I think it works incredibly well for a school community event. Or we have other options that you could use to bring people together in thoughtful discussion. And then we suggest some follow-on steps that include being clear about what are the essential competencies you want your kids to be developing. And we draw on the great resources of Ed Leader 21 and Battelle for Kids to help with that. We are big believers in shadowing a student, but don't do it alone. Don't have one person, particularly the principal, just be the only person shadowing the student. And don't shadow students looking for the failure points. Get a group of people to shadow different students with different experiences in school. Understand what you want kids to get good at through these precious years of school. Look for the bright spots. They're there. We found great student endeavors that were fostering collaboration, often in after-school programs. This is what we observed. This is why it was quite powerful. How can we do more of it? And when you do that, you suddenly build some real energy in your community and mobilize them to take on a very important, actually downright inspiring goal of how can we bring meaningful, sustained progress to our school. And then if we take that same model forward and we don't start to say everybody has to, but we just start inviting teachers, students, even parents. Here's something that's working. Here's something that we think was really a great success case. Don't copy it. We're not telling you you have to copy it, but who thinks this is really interesting and in their own way is already doing it, or could create and invent something that would mirror in some ways the positive aspects of that learning experience. So to circle back to the key point, there's a phrase that we all hear in education, which is, it takes a village to raise a child. I think a phrase we need to keep in the front of our mind is, it takes a village to change a school. And so if you're determined to bring real progress to your school, if you think there are real opportunities to improve, to better prepare your kids for life, start by forming your own coalition of 10.